Some families have such serious problems in their parent-child relationships to what extent the child will use a lifetime of sacrifices, a lifetime of mistakes to prove the parents' wrongs. Even though her life is getting worse and worse, why doesn't she change? Because she needs to prove her parents wrong. This is the result of parents and children developing a strong game-like relationship. We're not in a game with our children, it's a relationship of mutual love, so love them well and set boundaries for their behavior. When I take my son to the museum, he's excited and wants to run around. I just make a shh gesture, and he'll look at me seriously, nod, and obediently walk around for hours. Why? Because he's never doubted that Dad loves him. So if Dad says something isn't good, he'll definitely consider it, and seriously think about Dad's advice. So, this is what we mean when we say that all your words to your child will only be effective when you've established an unconditional love relationship with them. Otherwise, it's a game between the two of you. Think about it. Many children by the age of 3 or 4 already have a lot of game-like relationships with their parents. They won't do what their parents say unless they're beaten or given something. If you don't give them something and don't beat them, they won't listen. This is because when unconditional love is broken, discipline becomes even more difficult. How to solve it? The solution is to re-establish unconditional love. You have to constantly clarify your relationship with them, saying, I love you, Mom loves you, the whole family loves you. Love comes first, and because we love you, we have to tell you why this behavior isn't okay. Explain the reasons to them and hope they'll think more about their future. This is a lesson that needs to be done from childhood, and the easiest time to do it is before the age of 3. Before the age of 3 is the most important time to help children establish values, behavior habits, and emotional vocabulary. So, the first pillar is called unconditional love. The ultimate goal is to achieve being gentle but having boundaries. Because boundaries also represent love, and gentleness also represents love. If you can establish this, you'll find that even during adolescence, when there might be some friction and differences of opinion, your hearts will always be together. You won't doubt each other, bully each other, or deliberately vie for power. Some families have such serious problems in their parent-child relationships to what extent the child will use a lifetime of sacrifices, a lifetime of mistakes to prove the parents' wrongs. I've seen someone marry a person they don't love. Why? Because their parents told they to marry these people, so they did. They just wanted to see how bad it could get. And then life gets worse and worse. They get immersed in it, and every time they argue, they bring it up. You made me marry this person in the first place. You see, even though her life is getting worse and worse, why doesn't she change? Because she needs to prove her parents wrong. This is the result of parents and children developing a strong game-like relationship. We're not in a game with our children, it's a relationship of mutual love, so love them well and set boundaries for their behavior. Often, children who experience unconditional love behave more appropriately, have clearer boundaries, and know what they should and shouldn't do. This is the essence of good parenting. And good parenting doesn't involve scolding from parents. I've seen many parents scold, shout, and glare at their children just to make them behave properly. It's fake. It's just for the parent's face. But the child doesn't understand why they have to behave like that. So we can basically guess the parent's state based on the child's state. Once I was in a temple and saw a mother scolding her 2 children, and it really broke my heart. She was scolding one child loudly, "Get out and stand at the door." Then she found that the child was playing outside the door, so she chased after the child and continued scolding. I can understand this mother. She really wanted to appear as a well-mannered mother in front of everyone. A mother who takes responsibility for her child. A mother who can make her child behave properly. But the problem is her behavior was very inappropriate. This is what we mean by the first pillar. First, establish unconditional love. The second pillar is called a sense of worth. Adler, in Understanding Human Nature, says the most important things a person seeks in life are 2 things: a sense of belonging and a sense of worth. Unconditional love can bring a sense of belonging, where the child knows they belong to this family. So, the second pillar, a sense of worth, needs to be established by parents for their children. How do you build a sense of worth? You have to let the child know that they have value, they have abilities, they can solve many problems on their own, and only then will their self-esteem be high. This is what we call building a sense of worth. But when they do something right, many of us parents have a habit of routinely undermining our children. Regardless of whether the child behaves well or not, the parents will undermine them for whatever they do. If they behave well, they say, "You're showing off." And if they behave poorly, they say, "Look at you, how much worse you are than others." And the parents never allow the child to be happy, proud, or successful. This habitual undermining results in us constantly lowering the child's self-esteem throughout the day. But you have to know, a person's self-esteem determines their self-discipline. People with high self-esteem have strong self-discipline. But if a person has low self-esteem and feels like they can't do anything, their self-discipline will be poor. They'll just keep playing on their phone whenever they have a chance, stay up all night watching TV, and so on. If you want to improve your own self-discipline, reduce your procrastination, and reduce various problems, you have to find ways to do little things to raise your self-esteem. Like cleaning your room well. When you can clean your room well, your work efficiency for the day will be higher than before. Why? Because your self-esteem has increased. The same goes for a child. Why do so many children pick up their phones and can't put them down? You just can't give them a phone. As long as they have it, they won't let go until the parents take it away. The reason is their self-esteem is extremely low. They feel like they can't control themselves. They can't discipline themselves because their parents are always saying, "You can't control yourself." Children gradually grow into the image their parents paint of them. If parents constantly label their child as foolish or lacking discipline, the child will eventually embody those descriptions. It's because children believe what their parents say. Parents are the most trusted individuals in their world. If parents keep saying, "You're stupid," or "You lack discipline," the child will slowly become just that. So, we need to boost a child's self-esteem. When a child does something right, we should immediately acknowledge it and explain why it was right. Praising them and explaining the reason behind it teaches them to persevere in doing the right thing for life.